Information Literacy, COM105, Fall 2015. Reading check. What did Condorcet say about juries? Condorcet wrote of the problem of decision-making in his jury theorem. This theorem is a mathematical proof that suggests the probability of any group of people making a correct decision is based on the individual ability of the unique group members. If more than half of a jury votes correctly, then the total jury is more correct than any one particular member. On the other hand, if half of a jury votes incorrectly, then the jury is less correct than any one member. In other words, based on the individual members, a group can be smarter or dumber than any individual member. How many times has the White House been bombed in the last year? Well, hopefully you should know that the answer is 0. However, in 2013, the Associated Press's Twitter account was hacked into, and a fake tweet saying that the White House had been bombed was released, causing a major economic faux pas. What is a red herring? Well, a red herring is a logical fallacy that uses unrelated information to distract from the main issue of an event. For your consideration, what is information literacy, and why is it important? How do we become information literate? What skills are typically associated with information literacy? Why is information literacy so critical in the workplace? And what disadvantages would you face if you were less information literate? Before the advent of the internet, doing research was quite different. People needed to go to bookstores and libraries, wade extensively through hundreds of pages of text in order to come across a specific piece of information they were looking for. Today, all that information is just beyond the click of a mouse. But how do we know that the information we read online is credible? In our mediated world, how do we know if the information at our fingertips is real, credible information at all? Well, the ability to think critically and evaluate the quality and credibility of information sources is called information literacy, and it is the topic of our current chapter. In this lesson, you will learn what information literacy is and why it's important. So, what is information literacy? It's the ability to recognize when information is needed and to locate, evaluate, effectively use, and communicate information in various formats. Basically, it's the ability to know how to acquire new information and determine if that information of value. One of the primary models of information literacy is the Big Six model. The Big Six model begins with task definition. Define the problem. That is, you have to know what information you're looking for before you can look for it. The second step involves identifying sources. Determine possibilities and select the best sources. Where is this information coming from, and what source of information is best? Different sources may be better for different contexts. For example, a blog from an expert bowler may be better at teaching you how to bowl the perfect curveball than a physics article. The first link for used car on Google may be less useful than the 100th link, all based on the search algorithms used. This brings up the concept of source credibility, which will be covered soon. Third, in the Big Six model, is location and access. Locate sources and identify potential information. Based on a variety of circumstances, you may not be able to access some of the information you need. For example, let's say you have a research paper due and your power goes out, removing your ability to access the internet. Now you no longer have access to the information you need as easily. You may have to go to the library or some other physical location in order to gain access to information. Fourth in the Big Six model is the ability to have the skills to use information, to engage and extract. You must be able to engage a material by reading, listening, watching, and so forth. Then, once you have engaged in the material, you must be able to determine what information from your engagement is relevant to your initial search. Maybe the information you need is at the very bottom of the page or hidden in small text. Being able to locate what you need in an information source is as important as being able to engage the source itself. Next in this model is synthesis. Let's say you found all the information you need in one source. Now you need to combine that one source with multiple sources. One source alone is rarely enough. Synthesis means using information that you have strategically gathered from multiple sources and combining them into a deeper understanding of the topic at hand. Finally, the sixth stage of our Big Six model is evaluation. This is how we hone our skills in information literacy. Evaluation means looking back on the process of research and information gathering that you've engaged in and coming up with your strengths and weaknesses. In order to improve as an information literate individual, we always need to evaluate our tactics and processes. In many ways, literacy is a problem of source credibility. So what is source credibility? Source credibility is the perception of a source as a believable piece of information. That is, the information that I'm reading can be trusted because the person or persons who wrote it are trustworthy or subject matter experts. How might this differ between Web 1.0 and Web 2.0? Web 2.0 is categorized by many more individual content producers. That means every single person is able to produce any kind of content they want. Bloggers, Twitter feeds, Facebook pages, anyone can now be considered a content producer, and as such, the problem of source credibility is greater than ever. How can we trust sources that we find online when every person can be a source of information? What does information literacy have to do with me, you may be asking? As it turns out, information literacy plays a huge deal in the workplace. There are 7 phases of information literacy. 1. Information literacy affects how we communicate with our coworkers through communication technology. 2. You may be able to identify sources of information of value to your job online or through different sources. 3. Being information literate gives you the ability to provide deliverables to your place of work, such as new ideas or avenues for your business to explore. 4. Being information literate also allows you to control what information your place of employ produces. You can control what comes in and also what goes out. 5. Skill in information literacy allows you to build up a repository of knowledge that can be of enormous benefit not just to yourself, but to your employer. 6. The use of synthesis of information allows you to combine all that you know and provide new answers and new solutions in your place of work. 7. Finally, being able to be information literate and allowing for self-evaluation allows you to constantly improve your skills as an information seeker, meaning all of these benefits will only increase through further practice and evaluation. Information is a process. Here are some additional pointers for using information literacy in the workplace. Knowing which channels to use. Where will you find your information? Using a variety of digital sources. Use many different sources instead of just one in order to provide your information. Considering information as a deliverable. Information is something that you can give your employer. Exercising control over information sharing. That is, that you can control what information goes out from your place of employ. Comparing and merging new information with personal knowledge. You already have a database of knowledge within your own head that you can combine with information that you gather through research. Both of these can be of value to your employer. Considering the ethical implications synthesized information, including big data. Big data involves information gathered from many people, including who they are, where they live, what they buy. Is it ethical to use this type of information in business situations? What is the digital divide? The digital divide is a trend for there to be a disparity in the use of and access to technology based on numerous economic and sociological variables. That is, the haves tend to have more access to technology than the have-nots. There are 3 levels in this divide. First is the economic divide. That is, people in more developed nations tend to have more access to cheap internet, while people in less developed nations have difficulty paying for the same services due to the expenses or limited access to these services. Next is the usability divide. That is, many people have little to no experience using new technology, such as the internet, and may simply be unable to use it due to inexperience. Finally is the empowerment divide. That is, many people do not have the ability to use technology to satisfy their own empowerment goals. These people may have the economic access and the ability access to technology, yet may not use technology or be able to use technology to further their own interests in terms of empowerment. So, how do we close this digital divide? Is it closing? Frankly, we don't know. It's more than just giving people access to computers. The digital divide is a complex problem that faces our entire world. While many argue that the economic barriers to technology have been greatly reduced, technology and information literacy barriers must be addressed with equal attention so that those with access to technology are able to use it effectively. National Communication Association Resolution on the Digital Divide. Strength in numbers, but always? Going back to Nicolas Condorcet's problem of decision-making, the jury theorem, if more than half of a jury votes correctly, then the total jury is more correct than any one member. That is, if probability by the number of individuals is greater than 0.5, then yes, the entire group is better at making a decision than any one individual. That means they're more correct than any one person. On the other hand, if a jury votes incorrectly, then the jury is less correct than any one member. That means this probability times the number of individuals is less than 0.5, then no, the entire group is less accurate and less correct than any one individual. Given this jury theorem, in which case should we crowdsource? Crowdsource means using many people in order to accomplish a single goal, using new technology. So, what about Wikipedia? Given Condorcet's jury theorem, as mentioned earlier, it makes sense to assume that large groups of individuals making a decision on information, such as in Wikipedia, is going to be full of falsehoods. Yet Wikipedia tends to be as reliable as any other encyclopedia, including Encyclopedia Britannica. Wiki is a means of crowdsourcing, meaning using many people to accomplish a single goal through technology. The netizens of Wikipedia tend to view themselves as a part of a larger collective, and as such, monitor themselves. These netizens tend to have a core set of values in terms of how they edit and use the wiki. This is known as the trust your neighbor principle, which suggests that crowdsourced groups should trust the individual contributors to do his or her best. Additionally, Wikipedia works off of the procrastination principle, in that issues of technology and the environment tend to be dealt with later rather than sooner. Wiki tends to abide by Postel's law, in that new edits tend to be accepted first and moderated later. However, in the case of Wikipedia, most errors tend to be fixed within minutes of posting. Postel's law provides a conservative approach to transmitting information, so that it standardizes, such as the format of a Wikipedia page, with a liberal approach to the content of the information being transmitted, so that users can control their own content. That is, users may post whatever they want, but that information will eventually be moderated. CMC in action. One tweet, one terrible Tuesday. The following tweet comes from the Associated Press's Twitter account. It says, breaking. 2 explosions in the White House and Barack Obama is injured. Don't worry, this tweet is not real. Back in April of 2013, somebody broke into the Associated Press's Twitter account and posted this fake tweet. By the time it was deleted, it had received almost 3,000 retweets, resulting in a great deal of public panic. Basically, everyone believed this tweet was real. And here you can see just how real people thought that tweet was. This is the Dow Jones Industrial Average in 1-minute intervals around when the false tweet was posted. You can see how it's a fairly consistent average, and then at 1:07 p.m., when the false tweet was posted, there is an enormous dramatic drop in the Dow Jones average, which quickly returned to normal once it was made public that the tweet was a hacked joke, essentially. So you can see how false information and a lack of information literacy can have a huge impact on how people perceive and react to society. As you can see, one false tweet and a lack of information literacy can cause huge repercussions in our society. This is why it's so important that we understand information literacy. So let's get down to the basics of what information literacy is comprised of. Well, information literacy simply is critical thinking, and it's comprised of clarity, accuracy, precision, relevance, depth, breadth, logic, and fairness. Clarity is concerned with the vagueness of information gathered. In other words, is the information clear? More clear information is more credible. Accuracy is concerned with the correctness of information. Basically, is this information of use? Precision is concerned with how specific the information is. How much does this information explain something, and to what degree? Relevance is concerned with the information's relationship to the associated topic. Does this information even matter to what you're interested in? Depth is the level of critical thinking and detail involved in the information. Breadth is the overall coverage a source of information provides. Logic is concerned with the consistency of information and arguments being given in a source or a discussion. Finally, fairness is concerned with the ability of a source to give equal priority to different viewpoints in a topic of discussion. While the sheer volume of information readily available to today's consumer is at an all-time high, the standards of evaluating the information, just as the goals of human communication itself, has not changed. So, chapter summary. There is a seemingly innumerable amount of information online, which requires users to be information literate, but in the workplace and in their daily online interactions. Information literacy is a skill that must be practiced. While our ways of accessing information are new, the standards of critical thinking remain the same. There are also some problems to mention here at the end in terms of information literacy. These include egocentrism and red herrings. A red herring is a logical fallacy that uses unrelated information to distract from the main issue, while egocentrism is a tendency for individuals to view, interpret, and present information from their own viewpoints. Be careful in these logical fallacies when conducting your own research. Questions for the crowd. Which information literacy strategies or steps do you think are most important? Why? Have you ever been duped by something you read online? Share your experiences with others. Looking back, what might you have done differently to evaluate the information you found? Share your answers to these questions on Twitter using the hashtag #MediaAsTool hashtag, or in our official Facebook group linked below. You might even get an answer from the authors directly.